Greetings, y'all. Hi, this is my skull mug. Welcome to the program. So we've talked about the sacrament, like the sacramentality of the world, and just like seeing God at work through just like random different moments throughout the day or through nature. Just the concrete things of this world have symbolism that go deeper and they go beyond themselves. That God has just put there, and He speaks through that. At least for me, He does, and He does. I know He does it with other people too. This video has a bunch of different thoughts that I have, um, just thoughts and prayer meditation stuff from fall, autumn. You can't really tell that it is fall outside because of the way that the light's coming through the window. But if you haven't guessed, it's close to Halloween thanks to my family's lovely banner. Okay, the thoughts that I have about fall so far. So the other day, I went kayaking and it is so beautiful. It's the first time I've been kayaking in the fall. Normally, kayaking for me is a summer activity because I'm actually home with my family, and it makes more sense because kayaking, hot water, like it makes more sense. I'm on fall break back at home with my family, and I thought, you know what? What's stopping me from going kayaking? It's gonna be like it's not freezing out. It was like a really weird 80 degrees on the other day. I don't know how that happened, but it wasn't cold, so I was like, might as well go kayaking. So I went kayaking. I've been kayaking on this lake for a long time. Not my first rodeo with this kayaking or this lake that I went on. And so I was just like, I don't really have anywhere I'm going in particular. Just gonna like go chill there for like 2 hours, whatever. And so I'm just going around and I see this little like alcove type thing because they're like all throughout the, excuse me, like little alcove type things all throughout the lake. And I said, have I been there? I've been on this lake like a million times, but I don't like have I been there or not. Like I might have. It kind of looks familiar, but I'm also not 100% sure. And so like might as well go like check it out, see what's up. I go back there, I go exploring. It doesn't take long for me to realize, and indeed, in fact, I have been back there before. And I was like, wow, it. I've literally been back here more than once. I've been I don't know how many times, but plenty of times, and I didn't recognize that I had been there before. And I got to thinking, like, it was because of the season. Normally, I'm there in summer. Leaves are so green, like, can't see like anything beside like the greenness. Versus now, it's autumn, and we've got yellow and orange and red and brown, and trees don't have leaves, and it's just so different. Different season, didn't look the same. And how this relates to prayer and just life and healing, in particular, it came up. I realized sometimes we can we go through things and we don't realize at first that I've been here before. One of my professors recently he asked, "Do you struggle with a bunch of things that all are different, or do you struggle with like the same few things that are all manifested in different ways?" Which is a good question to ponder because it's like it also makes things like less intimidating when it's like, oh, I've been here before. It just looks different. It's the same issue, has the same root, it just looks different. For process of like healing or like going through wounds, a lot of times it's like, wait, I've been here before. I've been to this wound. I've been to this like memory, whatever, before. It's just a different season of my life and it looks different in a different way. But if I've dealt with it and if I've let our Lord heal it more, then I know how to, it's less overwhelming to address and heal and bring to prayer again because, oh my gosh, like I don't need to think super hard because I have the tools. I just need to utilize them. Another aspect of this I'm thinking about is a lot of times we'll wonder, I've been here before, why am I still struggling with this? Or like, why am I still visiting this area? And like, our Lord keeps bringing something up in prayer. And you're like, why are we still visiting this? Like, this is ridiculous. I've been through this process a million times. But different season in life, you need to learn the same lesson different ways. Some like same lesson or similar lesson, but in a different season of life requires it just it just is different because you're in a different place. You're different. The things you're gonna approach are different. A lot of times we need to learn the same lesson multiple times in different physical areas and different emotional areas when we're in a different place emotionally, simply because the brain, like, it learns something in one location, but then, like, all of a sudden you're like going back to, you go to a different place and it needs to relearn it. Like, you might work on a habit at college or at work, but all of a sudden this needs to get transferred to doing it at home. Like that is actually how, that's something that your brain has to do. It has to relearn the thing. So if you have to relearn something in multiple places, it's okay. Be at peace. Like be gentle with yourself. It's not abnormal. It's actually pretty fairly normal. Also, relapses are a thing. Relapses happen a lot. And it's really frustrating. It can be really frustrating. Realize that it's actually part of the healing process. Relapses happen. You ask for forgiveness. You ask our Lord, "Hey, please pick me up again. Let's keep going to readdress this because I've dealt with some of the same struggles for like years. I'm like, why are we doing like I'm still going through stuff. Like, what the heck? It's not going to go on indefinitely. It will end eventually, as long as you keep bringing it to Christ and bringing it to Our Lady and Saint Joseph and all of the saints and everything, the Trinity. All of the peoples. So that is thought number one. That's the longest thought. And then thought number two, and this one's a little bit less just like, I was like, this is kind of normal. But I was driving, I don't know if this was driving back from kayaking, and I was just like looking at all of the leaves just like fall, and it was so beautiful, and just with the wind and everything, I was just loving it and just delighting in it. And um, I thought of like, okay, like what's the symbolism behind this like sacramentality of the world? And I just thought like those leaves are, they were alive and now they're dead. That can seem really dreary and really like hopeless. It kind of just like if it just ends with them falling. I mean, we know that the spring is gonna come, but if it just ends with the leaves falling, it's just kind of like that's really sad. And then I thought, well, no, those leaves will decompose because that's how nature works. They'll decompose and they will provide a more fertile soil for plants in the spring. And so in the same way, certain things need to die, like bad habits or sin, or just like things change and like it you need something, like something feels like you just have to let it go, and like relationships, and it feels like a death. And it kind of just like, wow, that was really sad, and it seems very pointless because now they're just like the leaves that were beautiful green and beautiful colors are now just like just like nasty dead things on the ground, but instead seeing them as those things that have died will provide fertile soil for new life. So those relationships, those habits, those um, just anything that needs to, that like God's asked me to let go, or He's like, okay, this needs to die. Those things will provide a ground for the next step, the new life that comes later in the spring. It just takes a little bit of time for them to decompose and like really come. This comes to my final point. This involves not just fall, it involves all four seasons. Just because today I was going for a run in the woods because it's beautiful out and it wasn't freezing. So I'm like, I'm gonna take advantage of going outside as much as possible before it's like too cold for me to enjoy it. And so I was just like, again, seeing all of these leaves like fall, so gorgeous. And I was like, well, fall isn't the only time that things like fall from the sky. Like, what else? And in the winter, there's snow. And in the spring, there's pollen and flower petals and rain. And in the summer, there's rain. And this is all from a Marylander, Ohio, like that, like East Coast. We have all four seasons perspective. I just was like, okay, what does each of those things symbolize? If we're gonna start in the spring, like The pollen is a bunch of flowers trying to um, you know, reproduce. Flower, like pollen is reproducing for flowers, reproduction for flowers. So, the pollen is helping new life come about. And the petals are the flowers that are on the trees, or like the blossoms. Those things are the new life that comes, but those even have to fall away and die. So it's that initial process, but they have to fall, the initial beauty that has to fall away and die, um, so that the leaves can come. And then the leaves come, and they're kind of just like there. They're like the consistent growth that has to happen versus like the initial like beauty that happens a lot of times in prayer, because Jesus will be like, everything is sweetness, and then all of a sudden it's okay. Now we're just like kind of not coasting, but just kind of like, this is okay. The initial burst is over, and now it's just kind of like normal life. And then so it's just like normal growth, normal process. So leaves happen, rain comes to cultivate that basic new life that comes, just like keep going, keep going, keep nourishing the living water that comes through prayer. And then we get to fall. And then we kind of go back to what I mentioned in the first part of the videos, where it's okay, those new, like we've gotten to a good point where like certain things are good, and then we find like new things that need to die, and like other things that need to die, because God is constantly being like, so we need to work on this and this and this, and loving us, of course, in the midst of all of it, because it's not like he doesn't love us. He just loves us too much to let us stay like just there, and he wants us to grow. He wants us to draw closer to him, and all of this process is just bringing us closer to him. So we get to fall, and the things die, and and it's just like decomposing for soil in the spring. But then we get to this like winter, where you're like, what's going on? There's like no growth. It's like desolation, which doesn't means like you don't feel God. Or it could be a fallow season, where he's kind of just like, no, I want you to chill, and I'm going to prepare you for the new life that's coming. Um, but simultaneously, like the snow that falls when it's like, this is so dark and like dreary and nothing's happening, except for the chaos of the holidays. That anyway, um, you can go listen to one of my videos and listen to me rant about how I don't like Christmas. I don't like secularized Christmas. I love baby Jesus. I love Advent. Anyway, in the fall, I mean, in the winter, where it's snow falling, it's being able to find the beauty and the peace that comes in those fallow seasons, in those times of desolation, um, because snow just kind of makes things like quiet and peaceful. So in that same way, just like finding the beauty and the peace, when you don't necessarily see like concrete growth, because we need to make sure that we're not, simultaneously, as much as we need to grow, we need to make sure we're not putting our identity in our progress and in our growth, because our identity is ultimately found in being the beloved son or daughter of God that you are. Okay, that was 15 minutes of content. I don't know if I should say you're welcome or I'm sorry, but thank you for listening. Pray about it. Keep living the sacramentality of the world, and get holy and have fun doing it.